Hello, would you like to have a difficult conversation? The kind of conversation that makes you doubt your ability, makes you fear the consequences, makes your toes curl with embarrassment. In all likelihood, you probably don't. And yet, the workplace is full of opportunities and requirements for us to have difficult conversations. My name's Dr. Richard McKinnon. I'm a chartered psychologist and coach. And on this channel, I like to share insights from the science of psychology to help you be your best self at work. In this video, I'd like to explore the whole concept of difficult conversations. I'm going to look at why they're difficult, how we can effectively deal with the discomfort that comes with them, and how you can have more of the conversations that matter, even though they're difficult. Now, I would love to have a list of difficult conversations that I could share with you online. But this is one of the first things when it comes to these conversations. There's no agreed list of conversations that might be uncomfortable. It could be the topic. It could be the person you're having the conversation with. It could be the context you're in. It could be a combination of all of these. And of course, this points to one of the most important things about these conversations. The difficulty, the discomfort, it's subjective. It really depends on who you are. So what I might find very difficult to discuss, you might find easy, and vice versa. There's no point in approaching this from a sort of checklist perspective. Here are the easy conversations, here are the difficult ones. Instead, we're going to look at it through a couple of lenses. One is the fact that each of us, because we're human, will find certain conversations difficult. And secondly, we're going to look at some simple steps to help you effectively deal with that discomfort and not try and avoid it or minimize it. Now, the subjective nature of difficult conversations means we could look at them on a continuum. It might be the difficulty of asking your manager for an additional day off, all the way through to a conversation where you're telling someone they don't have a job anymore. I think we could all agree they will differ in terms of the difficulty involved. And yet sometimes our mind just simply goes off like a smoke alarm and tells us this is terrible, this is awful, and you should avoid it. And I think this is the number one trap we can fall into. We anticipate the difficulty involved, and then we can tell ourselves all kinds of stories. Why tomorrow is a better day to have the conversation, or indeed, let's leave it a little bit longer. And I think we can all agree, there's very few things get easier just by leaving them be. So let's imagine for a moment, you need to ask your manager for an additional day off to deal with a personal issue. As soon as you realize you're going to have this conversation, your mind could give you all kinds of stuff. It could give you maybe some feelings of embarrassment that you have to ask and maybe explain what the personal issue is. Maybe some feelings of shame. It could give you some feelings of worry or anxiety about how your manager might respond. There might be thoughts about the impact it has on your relationship, and anxiety that your manager might tell your teammates while you're not at work. All kinds of stuff, and yet you haven't had the conversation yet. And this is key to these difficult conversations. Sometimes the anticipation is worse than the actual conversation. Sometimes we can imagine disaster, catastrophe, awfulness, when in fact all we're dealing with is some temporary discomfort that is necessary for us to do something important. So when I run workshops on this topic, or when I'm coaching an individual, one of the first things that we cover off is that the key to these conversations is to notice where your focus is. To keep it simple, our focus could either be on making the conversation less uncomfortable, or it could be on having an effective conversation, even though it might be uncomfortable. Now, to you, that might not sound like a big difference, but it's huge. Because if our focus is on making the conversation less difficult, we're focusing on our comfort. And that can lead us down a path of avoidance or delay, or imagine it's a feedback conversation We might be focusing on our comfort, and so we might want to sugarcoat the feedback. We might want to rush through it. We might end up giving the person mixed messages, all because the focus is on us and our comfort levels. Compare that to a focus on having a good quality conversation, being effective in the moment, achieving the goal you set yourself. Well, if you do that, then you're really focused on delivering the message, paying attention to now, and working hard to achieve what it is that you wanted. So noticing where your focus is, noticing the temptation to make it easier, more comfortable, maybe pushing it into the future. This is all key to having more effective, difficult conversations. Now, it might seem like a bit of a negative message, a bit of a doom-laden message, but discomfort is everywhere. Psychological discomfort has the potential to show up all the time. And if we keep working hard to avoid it or minimize it, well, we're going to miss out on lots of opportunities and lots of important and meaningful stuff. So a key skill in the world of work is to learn how to effectively deal with the inevitable discomfort that will show up from time to time. Let me walk you through a few simple steps, and you can use this in any aspect of the world of work or indeed life out there when you encounter a difficulty, something that leads to you feeling uncomfortable or you could imagine discomfort in the future. The first thing is to pause. Why do I say that? That's inaction, right? Well, no, a lot of the time our response to discomfort in the moment or anticipated discomfort is an automatic one. An automatic, get out of here, because your mind is going at you. This is terrible, we should get out of here. So instead of an automatic response, do nothing. Just pause and begin to notice or observe the discomfort. How is that beneficial? Well, instead of taking orders from our mind that we need to avoid this or minimize this, we're asking ourselves, what is this? And then we can give it a name. We can label our discomfort, which means we're objectifying it. We're stepping back from it to see, what is this thing that's going on? It might be, as I said, anxiety about how someone will respond. It might be a sense of shame or guilt that we have to ask for a favor. It might be the fear of the unknown because we've never had a conversation about this before. If we can label it, we're saying it's a thing and it's not us. It's a thing we're experiencing, rather than core to who we are. So when we don't automatically respond, when we can start to observe the discomfort that we're feeling or even that we're just anticipating, then we can go back to ask ourselves, why am I putting myself in this position in the first place? What's the goal of this conversation? So if you really need that extra day off to attend to that personal difficulty, that personal crisis, well, that's your goal. Your goal isn't to remain comfortable and have no challenges in life. Your goal is, I need that day off. So when we revisit our goal, we're able to say, this is why I'm having the conversation. Then we're able to accept the discomfort as part of what we're doing. Not something that's optional or to be avoided or minimized, but if I want to do this important thing, if I wanted to secure this extra day off, then discomfort's part of the package. Accepting it means that we're not, getting through it with gritted teeth. We're not putting up with it. We're sort of accepting it as part of life, as part of doing meaningful things. And that means that our focus is less managing the levels of discomfort we're feeling and more on working towards our goal. And this brings me to the last point in this very brief checklist. Once we've accepted that we may or definitely will feel some discomfort, all we need to do is ensure that the next thing we do moves us towards that goal. Because these are our options. We can either move towards what's important and meaningful to us and ask for the day off, or we could find ourselves moving away from discomfort. And that's when we delay, that's when we procrastinate, that's when we avoid a temporary discomfort and sacrifice something much more important to us. So the key lesson here is that discomfort is inevitable, but it's not dangerous, it's not painful, it's temporary and awkward. And this isn't to help you feel better about the discomfort. This isn't to help you somehow avoid it. This is to accept it. So if you found this useful, I'd really ask that you share this video with someone in your life so they could benefit from it too. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. And I'm going to link to a video that I think you might find particularly useful when it comes to imagining future conversations. But for now, thank you very much for watching.